Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyson Smith.
And my name's Noah Jones.
Well, I'd like to start off by asking the judges if we're being clear enough for you. All right, and for our classmates, instead of asking y'all just a general question, let's use social media to determine whether or not y'all can hear us. So what we'll do is I'm on the Slam Jam Twitter account right now. I'll go to a tweet and I'll tweet out the statement right here. Retweet if you can hear us, favorite if you can't. I'll tweet it out and then click on the tweet, and we should start seeing some retweets. Yep, right there. A retweet is when another user on Twitter goes and clicks this little icon right there, and they're able to retweet the tweet, meaning that they can spread the message also. So as you can see, 3 people have already retweeted, and that's mainly what we use in both of our projects, not only in our community service, but our internships to communicate with different people. So Noah Jones will talk to you first about how he used social media in his project.
All right. As I said before, my name is Noah Jones, and as Tyson said, I used social media and in both my internship and my community service, but I used it in the music portion. So the overall topic behind my internship and community service was the process behind the music industry. And this includes the promotion of music, the marketing, the advertising, the recording, and primarily for me, the live performances. So why did I choose the music industry? The music industry is an industry that is very important to me. I've always been an extremely passionate person when it comes to music. I'm not a musician. I wish I was. I wish I was that talented, but I'm not. So I'm more focused on the appreciation of music and all music when it comes to genres and when it comes to live performances. Because I go to a lot of performances and I try to attend concerts and festivals whenever I possibly can, because I get something from them that I wish that everybody could understand how I feel. And they mean so much to me that I wanted to figure out what's behind it all. What does it take to put on one live performance? So that led me to my internship, which was at the Louisa Arts Center, which is a local venue that puts on plays, concerts, and just interactive stuff also for kids. And here I came across 2 mentors for my internship and community service. My mentor on your left was Michael Bollinger, who is the executive director at the Louisa Arts Center. He's the one in charge of promoting all the events, contacting all the artists, all the performers, and everything like that, and getting them to come to a small town like Louisa. And on your right is Christine Corriere, who is one of the members of the board of directors, and she is involved with promoting the venue's performances on a regular basis, marketing it and advertising it any way she can. Mr. Bollinger, who's on the left, he majored in fine arts at the University of Missouri and Webster University. And Christine Corriere majored in marketing. So they were both able to help me out with the marketing and the promotion that I wanted to get behind. So the first portion of my internship was working the box office. The box office was really interesting because it seems like such a simple task that you don't really see much when you're a spectator. You just see them giving you the ticket and you handing over all your money. But there's a lot more to it. When I worked the box office, I had to learn how to work with an online program in order to find tickets, find out what seats were available, and print these tickets out and get them what they wanted. If it was a handicapped spectator, they had to have handicapped accessible seats and everything like that. And this really taught me that there's so much more, even at the simple parts of the box office. The second part of my internship was setting up. I had to set up multiple events before the event actually occurred. These are pictures of me setting up with an act called Professor Smart. He's a touring act that goes around with his wife all around the nation, and he puts on a show for kids, just teaching them about science. And it was really interesting setting up this event. It was the day before that I set it up. And it was so interesting because he has so much stuff. So this was making props, and this was just setting up props and making sure that his stage was how he wanted it, because he's the one that traveled all the way here, and he needed it to be perfect. And this taught me that setting up an event is more than the actual event. It takes a lot more. And then, lastly, I had to work events. This was where I got really, really busy. One day I spent at the Louise Arts Center was 11 hours of my time, just all day working an event. That was the Jimmy Fortune concert. And this part was really cool because I got to work the box office, I got to welcome people, had to hand out pamphlets, had to work concessions, and had to make sure that the performers were all set and they had everything that they wanted. I was actually backstage a lot, giving the performers food and everything like that. And as you can see, I actually got to meet a touring artist, Jimmy Fortune, which I don't know if you guys listen to country music, but he's a pretty big name. And he was a former member of the Statler Brothers. So I thought that was really cool, even though I'm not that big on Jimmy Fortune. It was so cool. And so this takes me to my research portion of my project. I studied the impact of social media and independent artists on the music industry. I wanted to look into this because I look at the music industry and I just immediately see it evolving constantly. The music industry is constantly evolving because now independent artists are just emerging out of nowhere, it seems, and they're not just emerging. They're competing with the label-employed artists. And as you can see from this chart, that from 2003 to 2012, or 2020, or no, yeah, that is 2012, that it increased by over 6 times the amount of independent artists in the music industry. And one important thing is that these aren't just coming up. They're not just independent artists with small followers. And one example that I find perfect for this is Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. Macklemore and Ryan Lewis is a rapper-producer duo that is an independent act that doesn't have a label. They've been offered labels, but they don't want to go that route because they understand how different that makes the music industry, and they're more about the personal thing. And that's what takes me to social media. Social media is way more about a personalized industry. And Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, they did something that not many people can do. They released their album, The Heist. And with that album, they had Thrift Shop, which became a platinum-selling #1 single in 2013. They won Best Rap Album in 2014. They won Best New Artist, Best Rap Song, and Best Rap Performance in 2014, all without a label. This means that these independent acts are becoming big names. And this is crazy because you can see that with his 2.57 million followers on Twitter, he was able to sell 78,000 copies of this album in 1 week. This is more than many label-employed acts can do. And so this is what makes me so enthralled with the music industry, because independent artists are popping up and they're competing and they're coming for the label-employed.
Good afternoon again. I'm going to speak on my project, which is centered around sports marketing. I became interested in sports marketing after talking with my cousin and doing a project with him over the summer. My cousin Darius is a UVA graduate, and upon his graduation from UVA, he was able to find an internship with the Kansas City Royals. He worked in the marketing department with the Kansas City Royals as an intern, and he was able to meet a variety of people and worked with the players during spring training, specifically the Dominican players. Now, with the Dominican players, they didn't know very much English, and they wanted to provide an environment that was much like home for them. So one of his responsibilities was to provide a walk-up music for the Dominican players. And so their walk-up music would be more the music that they hear in the Dominican Republic. So I'm a DJ myself, and he contacted me to help him with the music portion of it to see if I knew any songs, and I didn't. So, but I didn't want to tell him that because I wanted to help with Kansas City Royals. You know, it's a Major League Baseball organization. So I researched and found the top songs in the Dominican Republic, and I was able to send him the 10 to 15 songs, and I got his response back, and he said the players really enjoyed it. Another reason I want to do sports marketing is because some of the benefits. The benefits include, as you can see to the far right, that's a Game 7 World Series ticket. And he was able, they were supposedly sold out, but he was able to get my uncle see in the middle picture in the white jacket. He was able to get him a ticket right behind the first base dugout. So I thought that really intrigued me. So my internship was dealt with collegiate sports marketing at the University of Virginia. My mentor was Mr. Greg Driscoll. Mr. Driscoll is a 2004 UVA grad. He graduated with a degree in commerce, and after he earned his master's degree in exercise and sports science at the University of North Carolina, he headed to Georgetown, where he was able to bring Georgetown's basketball program to have the top 25 attendance in the nation. The two goals of my internship were to learn the day-to-day operations of someone working in the collegiate marketing field, and also to learn how marketing sporting events with social media, how to market sporting events with social media. So I knew that would have the most impact with my community service project. So on the first day, he handed me a stack of papers and asked me to go hang up these flyers for an event called Balling with the Who's, which will appear later on in the slideshow. That it was what I helped with the internship. And there were specific places you had to hang these flyers up at, and these little kiosks. And I didn't feel that it got the message out to enough people. I saw people walk by and kind of glance at it, but nobody asked questions. And when I went back to his office the next day, I talked to him and I asked him, I said, I don't think people really saw what I did and saw the posters and were going to show up to the event. And he showed me their social media campaign. I felt that their social media campaign did a better job at reaching more people. I saw more people contacting them. So I would be more in favor of social media marketing than traditional marketing because you're able to reach more people. So the event I referred to, Balling with the Who's, it was a meet and greet between the UVA basketball players and the students at the University of Virginia. And what I did was I hung up posters like the one on the far left and worked the events. One of the events was called Shooting Stars, where a student was paired up with a basketball player and they competed and kind of like an around the world type deal, which is a basketball game. And then in the second picture from the left is me helping. I helped during one of the events with basketball player Evan Nolte, helped him rebound for the players because all the events were timed just to make sure that the students had the best time possible and everybody was able to get a chance in the time allotted. And the third picture is a picture of the fatheads that the marketing department creates, and these are really popular with the students, especially the Who Crew, which is their student section at the University of Virginia. Oftentimes on TV, you'll see them hold them up when somebody's taking a free throw shot to try to disturb them in some way to make sure that their team is as successful as possible. And the last picture is a picture of the ACC championship trophy. I thought this was really cool because I didn't know that the marketing department was responsible for all the trophies. I thought it went to the team directly, but the marketing department makes sure that the team is that the trophies are kept in good condition. So the project I worked on during my internship was a social media marketing project, and this was going to help me accomplish my second goal, to learn how to market sporting events with social media. And what I did was my mentor sat me down in a room and he handed me a computer and he asked in a spreadsheet format, and he asked me to figure out how often teams around the ACC which is the Atlantic Coastal Conference that Virginia belongs to, how often they were tweeting or making Facebook posts on Instagram. And I found that there was a variety of different frequencies, like Georgia Tech, for example. They had a lot of posts about just random things that were happening, but Virginia had a more focused approach and only posted probably 2 times a day. And but they had a more focused approach, and I felt like that was a better approach because people were more informative and it wasn't as much clutter. So my research paper dealt with the topic of compensation of Division I athletes. With my research paper, I really focused on revenue sports. A revenue sport is a sport where the profits exceed the expenses. And when you talk about revenue sports and NCAA, you're really focusing on football and men's basketball. And I was focused on Division I level, which is the top tier of college athletics. And so some of the problems I found that Division I college athletes were dealing with was that 90% of all Division I college athletes live in poverty. Now, Division I college athletes provide a lot of money for their university, and their fair market value, which is just the value that they would have as an employee in the market that we have in the United States, is $121,048, which is a tremendous amount. And the NCAA last year, or in 2013, reported $11 billion in revenue. Now, remind you, NCAA is supposedly a nonprofit organization, but yet and still they still make $11 billion a year. And the biggest problem I found was the players received $0 other than an athletic scholarship. But even the athletic scholarship can leave them with an average scholarship shortfall of about $3,222. Now, most of your players might come from low-income areas, and they wouldn't be able to go to college if it wasn't for athletics. They're still going to be required to pay about this total when they go to after they exit college. And there's not very many players that are able to make it to a professional level. So this amount of money could end up being a problem for them. So my solution to this problem was my revenue sharing model. I based this off of the NFL's revenue sharing model where everything is shared equally between the players. I chose 50% because it was just a personal choice because I felt 50% was fair. It gave equal amounts to both the players and the NCAA. So in the revenue sharing model, I based it off the NCAA's total revenue, which was $912.8 million. And so then the budget for the player salaries was $456.4 million. So when it's spread to all the players and all the Division I athletes in revenue sports, each athlete would end up with $46,690.54. Now, with this revenue sharing model, we're taking away athletic scholarships. So the athletes will be required to pay for their college education. So that's where the expenses of about $30,000 comes into. That in college education, the average amount would be about $30,000. But even after paying for the college education, they still have about $16,690.54. Now that's if they work part-time, that's much more than they would earn if playing a sport than if they were just an average student working part-time. And this brings us to Slam Jam, which we'll talk about together. And first, we'd like to show you the post reactions to Slam Jam, to the event as a whole, and then tell you all the events that led up to that. So we have a short video here for you to watch.
Twitter originally, they had a really successful Twitter campaign early last semester. They had contacted me because I run an account that a lot of my fellow students follow, and in turn, I helped them and helped me.
Well, I heard about it through a good friend of mine, and she got me in touch with Noah and Tyson, who allowed me to perform.
I heard about it through the announcements of school and on Twitter.
I wanted to be part of the music thing, but then I realized that I'm not musically talented. I ended up being part of the basketball program, which there's a lot.
I rapped 3 original songs.
I was expecting it to be like a gun, but it wasn't, and I was I was expecting it to be fun and a lot of people to go, and the performances to be really fun.
I figured it'd just be Noah, Tyson, their group of friends, not as many people as actually showed up. It turned out to be a large and really diverse crowd, and it's a lot of fun to be around.
I was expecting people to show up, but not this many people. Like there's a lot of people that showed up, and I'm glad that this many people came. And yeah.
Yo, my boy KJ killed it.
It was so much fun.
Here are just a couple snapshots from the event of some of our performers and some of our basketball teams that were victorious during the time. All right, so how did we get there and get such a great turnout? We use social media mainly. As you saw at the beginning of the presentation, our Twitter campaign, we, with the help of Cameron Carroll, who spoke about that, who runs the Louisa Looney's page, he really helped get our name out there to start off with and got us off the ground. And then once we got there, it was off and rolling. And then we created an Instagram page. And on Instagram, instead of on Twitter, it was more of a communication between the students. On Instagram, we were really trying to sell the event as a whole. So we used videos and things of that sort to try to drive home the type of event that we wanted at Slam Jam.
All right, so what we had to do was the brand recognition. We had to get our brand and our logo out there to the public. And so one thing that we used was our t-shirts that we sold and Josh Grady. We used Josh Grady, who's a senior here, as a marketing tech. He participates in 3 different sports. he has a big social media presence, and he can contact very large demographics. So we saw this and took the opportunity. So we contacted him and told him we'd give him a free shirt if he helped market us. So he agreed, and as you can see here, this is us with Josh Grady and his free t-shirt. And we made sure to get Slam and Jam in the newspaper as much as possible. We contacted the newspaper here at Louisa, the Lions Roar, and they did an article on us just to help get our name and our event out there to our student body.
So the next thing is brand recognition. Continuing on with the brand. Starting off, I knew a little bit about marketing. I knew about demographics. Demographics are big in marketing. Demographic is the group of people you're trying to sell your product to. So when we were coming up with the logo, we originally started with Base and Balls. Now, Base and Balls was an idea that was very early on. It's one I thought of, and then I thought, it appealed to the men, but not. It's a little harsh for the females from the polls that we took. So from there, we went to Hoops and Harmony. Now, Hoops and Harmony, again, it appealed to the females, but the males still tended to like Base and Balls better. So the final solution that we ended up with was Slam and Jam, which was better for, when we polled the different demographics, it was better for both of them. That's the one that we settled on.
All right. So we were big on social media, but the other thing that we had to make sure we did was get it out there just online, not necessarily social media. So we had to market Slam and Jam on the World Wide Web. So we first used Eventbrite, which is a ticket selling program that we sold our tickets for Slam and Jam online to reach our supporters from out of county that couldn't really access us easily. And we also sold t-shirts on teespring.com. And the selling t-shirts wasn't as successful as we had hoped because we really only sold 5 shirts. But the problem with this was we weren't making a profit. It was just solely on marketing. So we just weren't really worried about it because we felt that we were marketing it well enough. And the thing is that if we were to do it again to sell t-shirts, we would probably make sure that we had the t-shirts here to sell them so that our supporters can hold them and actually feel them and see what they're going to get. Because on Teespring, you had to go online, use a credit card, and go through so many more steps in order to get one t-shirt.
So we have another video. This was the commercial that we put on YouTube for to tell people what the event was. And with this, we were just trying to reach even more people than what social media could. This video is on YouTube.
Jam is a benefit basketball tournament and concert all in one that everybody cleans it. All of the funds are going towards the Youth Arts Center in order to benefit you and the community. Well, tickets are only $5 in advance and $7 at the door. Get your ticket now. Yo, Tyson, tell them about the basketball tournament.
Slam Jam hosted the Real Free Basketball Tournament. The tournament will be set up single elimination style teams consisting of 3 or 5 players. Some outcomes will be the finest basketball talent. So the basketball tournament will be hyped. What about the concert?
The concert will be headlined by Bruce Rubin and include acts such as Jericho, Ava Hansen, Zach Campy, DJ Knight, KJ, and MCD.
Come on out to Slam Jam
On January 17, 2015,
at the Betty Collegiate Center, 522 Industrial Drive, Louisa, Virginia, zip code 23093.
only $5.
You come out and have a great time with your family, friends, and community.
So buy your ticket today.
You won't forget it. On the what?
So that video is posted on YouTube just to try to reach even more people. All right, so I was responsible for the basketball tournament, and the basketball tournament was set up single elimination style with teams consisting of 3 to 5 players. Now, the basketball tournament, I had my uncle Maurice Smith, who is a part of a local AAU basketball tournament. He knew most of the players that were playing in the tournament. I also had my father, Matthias Smith, help me with officiating, and the event ran smooth with no issues, and the officials were just there to make sure nobody got out of hand because we are teenagers in a competitive environment, and sometimes it's hard to remain calm, but we had no issues, and people really understood that this was a charity event and really behaved well.
All right.
I'll talk about that. So the first place team that we had was Rift Team, and the second runner-up that we had was Gilder. And both these teams were our top 2 seeds coming into the tournament, and they were able to make it to the championship game.
All right. Now, the concert portion was my portion that I focused on since I had interned at the Louise Arts Center. Before the event, I had a lot to do for planning. I had to contact many performers. I reached out to bands from Richmond and Charlottesville and just other local performers from Louisa that I was turned down a lot. And it was something that I had to get used to, something that I had to realize that no was something I had to work with. But finally, I was able to get Griff Saroon Band, KJ Bogar, Zach Campy, and MC Peenbar. So these 3 of them, KJ Bogar, Zach Campy, and MC Peenbar, were all local performers, high schoolers from Louisa. But Griff Saroon Band is a band that's originally from Williamsburg, but now they live in Richmond. So it was really nice that they were able to come out even though they were touring already. And after the event, the reactions were really surprised us because we surprised them. And a lot of people really liked the acts, even the Louisa performers, because believe it or not, we really did have some talented performers come out. And it was really nice. And it was cool that our spectators got to see all of that.
So our lasting impact, recently we presented a check to the Louisa Arts Center at their board meeting for $866.09. And hopefully with this money, they'll be able to provide more events for the community.
So the question that we've been hearing a lot is there going to be a Slam and Jam 2016? Well, we've heard this from spectators, from our followers and everything like that, and even people at the Louisa Arts Center, because they definitely want to see some more money coming into their nonprofit organization. And we've contacted some people in the junior class now that are in Governor School, and they are willing to continue it on, but it's not for sure since we're going to be at college and we won't be able to help out as much as we definitely did this year.
This project has left a personal impact on me because coming into this project, I wasn't sure entirely what I wanted to major on in college. My route has always been to go to law school, but I needed something to get me up to that point. I believe that marketing is the way for me to go to get to that point. And I've been accepted into Virginia Tech, into their Pamplin College of Business. And hopefully I'll double major in marketing and communications if I decide to go there. But I'm still waiting on other schools.
And it's left a personal impact on me because it really has changed my way of looking for my future. Because I've always been a math guy. I've always loved math and thought that I was going to be one day an engineer or something that just revolved around math. But being involved with Slam and Jam really got me thinking about business. And I would love to do things like Slam and Jam on a regular basis. And I just want to be involved with the music industry. So now I'm thinking maybe business management / marketing. And I've been accepted to the University of Virginia, and I'm still waiting to hear back from Duke University. So we'll see where I go.
So there's a couple people we'd like to thank.
I'd like to thank my entire family for always being very supportive, but especially my dad for being in charge of concessions and stuff like that.
I'd like to thank my family as well, both my mom and my dad. My dad helped, as I said, with the officiating, and also my uncle, Maurice Smith, who's also an official.
And we definitely want to thank the Tri-M members because they were our volunteers for the event, and they helped tremendously selling tickets and just organizing the event.
I'd also like to thank the Louisa County Board of Supervisors, especially my board member, Fitzgerald Barnes. He was instrumental in locking down the venue of the Betty Queen Center, which we had the fee waive for and came free of charge to make sure they can give the most amount of money to the Louisa Arts Center as possible. And finally, we want to thank the BRVGS class of 2015. They're wearing some of the shirts iron-on shirts that we created at the beginning for a tie-dye day on Spirit Week. It was just really great to see 14 or 13 other people just supporting you in that way by wearing your shirt and your logo.
Yeah, you guys have not only been supportive this year, but throughout all 4 years.
Are there any questions? Scar.
So do you think NCAA will ever go for your idea of profit sharing?
Well, I don't. Well, when I go to the meeting in a couple months, I'll present it to them and see. But I don't know. I don't know if they're willing to lose that much money. I think there's some people in the front office that are a little bit too worried about putting money in their pockets. They put money in the pockets of the people that really put the money in their pockets. So, but we'll see. I mean, they have court cases now, like the Ed O'Bannon case, where different professional athletes and college athletes are coming together to try to correct this issue. And recently, the Northwestern's football team went to court, and they were able to unionize to try to, I guess, collectively bargain to get paid. And we'll have to see where that goes from here. It's just recently got off the ground.
It's definitely a hot topic. If you ever watch ESPN, they talk about it almost
All the time.
And any more questions?